Hey guys, this is Callum from English Shooting and welcome back to the channel. We're going to be covering a very popular question that we get here on the channel. How old do you need to be to buy a gun here within the UK? Well, depending on how in depth you want to go, just like with most firearms law questions here, it can get pretty in depth and pretty convoluted. The headline figure really to be able to buy any type of gun, be that a rifle, a shotgun, an air gun, or even an airsoft gun, is the age of 18. However, there are various mechanisms for people under the age of 18 to be able to own their own firearms and also have their own firearm certificate and shotgun certificate, and really that's the nitty-gritty that we're going to go into today. So there's quite a well-known article that came out of the Independent saying that there were nearly 3,000 children that own guns here within the UK, the youngest being 7 years old. And as you can imagine, being a mainstream UK newspaper, that statement isn't strictly true. The correct statement is that nearly 3,000 children have shotgun or firearm certificates. Just having the certificates doesn't necessarily mean that they actually own the gun. So the 7-year-old may have a shotgun certificate but not actually own any guns themselves. So why would a child need a shotgun or firearm certificate? And if they're not able to buy a gun themselves, really what use is it? Well, there's a lot of playgrounds first off that will require you to have a shotgun certificate. The main one that I know of is the Bisley shooting ground. Well, you need to have a shotgun certificate to be able to shoot on their pay and play and to be able to shoot unsupervised. So if you're really aiming to go to the top flights of shooting sports, you need to start early and you need to be able to train. And if your local playground has this stipulation, then you're going to need your own shotgun certificate in order to be able to go there to potentially use somebody else's gun or even borrow guns. The most popular mechanism for this to happen is to receive a gun as a gift. Receiving as a gift isn't purchasing or buying it, so the 18 or over doesn't apply. And you might be thinking, well, who's out there gifting guns to children? Well, quite obviously this is going to be in most circumstances parents. A lot of parents will have their own firearms or shotgun certificates. The child will then be able to be gifted a shotgun or firearm from their parents. In terms of the minimum ages of actually getting a shotgun or firearm certificate, there is technically no minimum age for a shotgun certificate. The theoretical age is actually 2 years old, because you have to have known your referees for at least 2 years, although again the chances of a 2-year-old going out there and getting a shotgun certificate are exceedingly low. For firearm certificates you need to be 14 years old. So to be able to be gifted a shotgun you need to be 15 years or older. Funnily enough, the firearms gifting age is actually 14 years or older. So this means that you can have 14 and 15-year-olds out there with shotguns or firearms on their firearm or shotgun certificate. If you have, say, a parent that doesn't have a shotgun certificate or a firearm certificate, can they legally gift you the gun? Well, no, they don't have lawful or authority to be able to buy that gun in the first place. So it gets very tricky, but there are ways to expand the gifting of firearms or shotguns. Again, this is usually to aid sort of sporting achievements and sporting training. So look at F1 drivers, they start from a very young age. Look at any top level sport, they start from an incredibly young age, and shooting is no different. So we need the younger, the children out there to be able to go out there and train, to have their own guns, and obviously they need to show an extraordinarily amount of maturity. They still have to go through all the same vettings and all the same checks as anybody else, and the FEO, the firearm inquiry officer, is going to take it incredibly seriously before issuing a shotgun certificate to a child or a firearm certificate to a child. They would have to have proven themselves in some way to show that they have the level of maturity and can be entrusted with that responsibility before being issued it. Now, aside from gifts, so that is a way for somebody under the age of 18 to take ownership of a gun, but there's also other laws and restrictions on even just possessing guns. So through various exemptions, there really is no limit, let's just say, in terms of when somebody can be possessing a shotgun or a firearm, but it has to be done within the right scenario. This is usually at a club or under supervision of somebody over the age of 21. So it's not just a case of a 10-year-old can just be, handed a shotgun and go, right, borrow this for the day and go off. They would be required to be supervised or within a range environment. So I think overall it's pretty sensible. It can be a little bit confusing with all these different levels of what you can do at certain ages, but overall this is to ultimately make sure that we don't have 10-year-olds running around unchecked with guns. I don't think that's the best idea out there, but also allows young farmers or young sports persons to be able to go out there and compete or do the necessary jobs when they have proven themselves to be mature enough to be able to possess and own that gun. Something that personally I find quite funny about all of this is actually sub 12 foot-pound air guns. Now, if they are over 12 foot-pound, they are classed as a firearm and therefore go on a firearm certificate, which means again somebody could be gifted one under the age of 18 with their own FAC. But if it's a sub 12 foot-pound and therefore you don't need a firearm certificate, there is actually no mechanism for a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle to be gifted to somebody under the age of 18. You would need to wait until you're 18 to be able to go and buy your own. And also there are the same sort of restrictions in even possessing an air rifle, being able to borrow one to go out and shoot on your own. And of course this has come recently highlighted under the firearm safety consultation. They are now looking at banning the unsupervised use of any air gun between 17 and 14 years old. But there are a few exemptions, again the same as firearms and shotguns, for people to be able to possess them, and that is through clubs or being supervised. So again, overall there are various mechanisms to start getting into this sport and to even start owning your own guns at an early age. I'm not saying it's going to be the easiest thing in the world. Of course, the police are going to look very, very closely on this. It's a big responsibility at such a young age, and it is of course going to be much easier and much simpler if your parents also have a firearm or shotgun certificate and are into shooting. I personally know a few people that at the age of 14 and 15, without their parents having their own certificates, were able to get their own guns. You just need let's say a friendly gun shop, one that is able to understand the laws and how things can operate and how to navigate the exemptions in laws. But again, this is all done in a very controlled way, a very controlled manner. A gun shop isn't just going to allow a 14-year-old to walk out of the shop if they're not confident that they're going to be sensible and suitable to be able to own that type of gun. But really, headline figure again is really over the age of 18, but as we've discussed, there are mechanisms for under the age of 18 to be able to possess and also own their own guns. If you have any other questions, then please drop them in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and of course make sure you're subscribed for any future videos. And as always guys, I hope to see you soon.